everybody. Welcome to Book Bites with Maggie. We are coming live to you from the Napanee Public Library, and joining me for episode 1 of season 3 is Jaymi. She's our technology assistant here at the library, and together we are going to share the topic of nonfiction books that have really stood out to us in the collection. Okay, so on today's episode, our nonfiction titles from our collection that we're going to be highlighting is a combination of books that we find appealing. And when I was looking at your stack and looking at my stack, we are totally drawn to different things.
Yeah.
Absolutely drawn to different things. And that's okay. So nonfiction is such a varied genre in our collection, and it can be anything from health and wellness to the history of something to doing a research project, and even biographies are considered nonfiction here in our collection. As we hold up different books in our episode today, we're going to try to mention what formats a book and a title comes in. If you are not local to the Napanee Public Library and you want to access something digitally, definitely check out your own library collection as a resource and a way to get different titles. If you are from here and you have your Napanee Public Library, leave us a comment, send us a message. The books that we have available, we can put right on the hold shelf with your name on them, and you can come in and pick them up at your convenience. So that is something we can offer to you. If nonfiction is going to be like your genre of choice and there are other books that have really stood out to you, please, by all means, leave them in the comments for other viewers, or maybe for Jaymi and I to maybe pick up on our own. So we love to have book recommendations just as well. So during our reader's advisory here, definitely laid back. Again, we can communicate back and forth. We have somebody reading comments to us. So send us messages. If you've read something and you enjoyed it as well, let us know and we can have fun with it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first book that I have is There She Was. This is The Secret History of Miss America by Amy Argensinger. I hope I did not butcher the author's name too bad. This was a book that I read just a few months ago, and it is one that we have available here in our physical shelf. We also have it as an ebook on Libby and Overdrive. It's a combination between a modern day, what's happening in current events with Miss America, as well as like the history of Miss America. So it goes back and forth chapter to chapter, and I found it so intriguing and interesting. And there is pictures inside of this book that kind of show about like the way that the culture and the decades have changed the program, and the fight and the angst that is with all the girls, and goodness, the businesses involved in Miss America in the pageant. I learned a lot from it, and because I am not super up on my pop culture, I learned a lot of even modern day things I didn't realize about all the money problems. So it was a good one. I really enjoyed this. So we have it as a physical book and an ebook. Okay, Miss Jaymi, show me what you got.
All right. So first up, I've got Trail Guide to the Body. This is really good for anybody that's interested into getting into body work as massage therapists, chiropractic, physical therapy. This will map out literally any anatomical structure that you're looking to find in the body. It's good at showing you where basic pressure points are at in the body, how to palpate these muscles, and yeah, just does a marvelous job at locating each muscle throughout the body.
Cool. So does it read like a textbook, or is it just, it's still fun?
Not fun.
Not fun.
Very detailed in the way it's laid out. So I will say
but
that.
Beneficial.
But very beneficial. A lot of good knowledge in here. Because a lot of times when you go through schooling, anatomy is usually one of the things that falls short.
Yeah.
So this is a really good map of everything you need to know, and I would highly recommend.
I like that it has like the open and wide spine when you're reading something like this, and you don't want to have to sit there and hold it open. This is a big book.
Yes.
Lots of illustration.
Lots of information for sure.
So did you use this one in schooling?
No, actually, when you come out of schooling, you realize kind of what things you wish you would have known.
Yeah.
And this is
And
definitely
you still find it intriguing.
one of the items that I wish they would have presented us in school.
Very cool. See, you never know what you're going to find here at the library.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next book has nothing to do with that, but it's about the history of a hospital. This is the very first nonfiction book that really got me hooked on the genre. So this is Bellevue, 3 Centuries of Medicine and Mayhem at America's most storied hospital. So Bellevue is in New York City, and has been around forever and ever and ever. And this book covers everything from like the establishment of the hospital to when it relocated down into the city. It covers people who have worked there, some of the patients who have had help. It covers the politics behind it being a free hospital for immigrants, all the pandemics that it has gone through. Now, I read this book in 2018, and I still have like vivid memories of some of the things that talked about in here. So like this hospital came about way before they knew what germs were. And so like there's like whole chapters and stories involved where like the doctor is down performing an autopsy in the basement and then goes upstairs and without washing his hands delivers a baby and they can't figure out why the baby dies. It really shows you how much they didn't know all the way through, I'll say quote unquote modern day. So like obviously medicine is like technology and that it ages really rapidly, but to feel it go from one side to the other was absolutely mind-boggling. This book absorbed me, and what I'm really hopeful is that they take this book and it covers SARS and it covers smallpox and it covers all these different things. I'd love to see it have, what do you call that? Like a new edition, like an update after COVID. Because I want to see like what this hospital did differently.
Is the Bellevue still a hospital?
It is, yeah, it's still in practice. And actually I learned from this that there was only one time that they have ever closed, and that was when like it flooded to like the 11th story and they couldn't, like the generators flooded. They literally could not be open. Other than that, they have never once closed in their entire existence. And it was built in 1738. So it's been around a really long time.
You said that's located.
Is New York City.
New York City.
Isn't it weird? Okay, like, so after I read this, I was like, I want to go visit New York City. And yeah, I want to see the Statue of Liberty, but I want to go visit a hospital. My husband was not game for that. But this is Bellevue. We have this book as a physical book and an ebook on Libby and Overdrive.
Okay.
Do you want to read it?
That does sound pretty cool.
It really was. Like, this is the one that made me read all the rest of these. Okay, what you got?
So next one I got is Acupressure. This kind of is another play on with this one. Basically what acupressure is finding points in the body that can help alleviate any ailments you may experience. I use some for premenstrual cramps, headaches. One in particular that is noted in here that a lot of people use is right in between the fingers here, the web. Push that for about 30 seconds, and that can alleviate some pain that you may experience with headaches or stomach aches. This can be
like push hard?
Not too
like
hard.
pinch it.
Pinch it enough. Yes.
30
you feel
seconds.
some pressure, about 30 seconds until you start to feel your symptoms alleviate. Now
I feel like this is just going to be distracting, so I'm going to forget I don't feel good. But apparently there's science behind it.
There is some science behind it. This can also be confused with acupuncture.
Okay.
It's the same idea, just acupuncture
No
with
needles.
needles. No needles, and that's usually administered by a professional.
Yeah.
This you can do at home, so that's why it's so convenient to be able to alleviate your own ailments by yourself. But always consult.
Acupressure.
Yeah. But always consult your doctor whenever you're doing stuff like this. Yeah. Don't ever try to replace it for the traditional. But yeah, if you're interested in that, we have it in physical form.
It's got pictures, guys. Very cool. I'm gonna have to remember that. Okay, I'm gonna like turn around to my desk someday and be like, okay, I've got a headache. What was I supposed to do?
Yeah.
You'll have to remind me.
All right.
Okay. Chip Gaines and Joanna Gaines obviously are notorious, super famous people. They've written many books. This one is the second book by Chip by himself. This is No Pains, No Gains. The good stuff doesn't come easy. It's half business, half self-help, half memoir, kind of. We do have it as a physical book, but I listened to this book, and if you are familiar with them as a couple, as entrepreneurs and DIYers, the banter and like the humor of him comes through just his voice. So he narrates the audiobook of this, and I listened to it, and he speeds up and slows down as he's reading his own work, because he knows how it was intended to be absorbed. So I learned a lot from this one. It felt kind of like a pep talk.
Okay.
I don't know. I really liked it. I really wish that I would have had the physical book not as a library book, but like a physical book that I could have sat there and like underlined and highlighted of my own copy as I was listening, because I still think about different things that I learned about this that really spoke to me. So we have this as a physical book, ebook, and e-audiobook, and Libby and Overdrive as other formats. And maybe it'll be a good one that you enjoy too if you're familiar with them. Want to do another one?
All right. So next up, I have The Heartbeat of Trees. This is by Peter Woolden. So this book is just a treasure trove. This made me feel so connected to the forests, honestly. He explains how we had a deep bond with nature that we have kind of forgotten. And instead of making us feel guilty in this book, he does a very good job at connecting us back with the trees and explaining why the color green is, helpful to our health, why we like the smell of smoke. Actually, he explains why trees, how they communicate. They can communicate through their roots, and they can send nutrients to each other if they're getting sick. So they're a lot like us, more like us than we think.
Yeah.
Just looking at a tree, wouldn't know all that's happening under the ground.
This is located in 304. I'm trying to think where that falls in the Dewey. Can you think? 304. What else would be in that?
I think it's
before
just
true
like
crime.
self-help. It's like close to like Chicken Soup for the Soul and stuff like that.
Does it read like short stories?
These are essays.
Ooh!
Yeah, so he puts
Okay,
in,
that would be why
Yeah,
it's
that makes
304.
sense. Okay.
Yeah. So another book I put in here, which we just have as ebook and e-audio. This goes more into detail about the communication of trees and their
It's the
kind
same
of family
person wrote
network.
this one?
Yes, same person. He goes more in
They
detail
feel
into
and
this.
how they communicate, the hidden life of trees.
This is just our bond with trees, and this is how trees are bonded together within a network of themselves.
Okay, so definitely putting this one on my radar. This sounds so good.
It is very.
Can I see that one to show them?
This one? Yeah.
No, that one.
Oh, this one, yeah.
The cover of this one is so pretty.
I've never even heard of this. Isn't that weird?
And
Like I probably just have never shelved it before.
Yeah, and he does insert all the science behind everything he talks about very well. So
And it doesn't go over your head like when
no,
you're reading
it's
it,
very.
like you understand.
It's a very quick, simplistic read. He doesn't overcomplicate the ideas in here. Yeah.
Did he write all the essays, or is he the
Yeah.
editor, brings them all together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. That's about living. My next one's about death. That was a really bad segue. This book is one of Pat. She is our materials management manager. She raves and raves and raves about this book, and so I finally picked it up. Peer pressure, coworker pressure, maybe?
Yeah.
Something.
Only that worked for Harry Potter.
Someday I'm going to surprise you. Mary Roach wrote this book. This is Stiff, The Curious Lives of Human Cadavers. She's written other books too. Her most recent one is Fuzz or Gag.
Fuzz.
Fuzz,
Mhm.
is that the most recent one? And she takes topics that probably aren't written about, but then I guess other authors do too, because I didn't know about the trees. That's really cool. This one covers the science behind what happens to bodies. So there's everything from like chapters of people donating their bodies to science after they die. There are like the research of what the body farm is like. And there's, I mean, it's graphic, but I learned so much in this story. And it's 20 years old, so it's like how much has changed. Again, nonfiction is evolving just like, as we learn things. And so this one would be another book where I'd be like, what has changed in the last 20 years? What do we know medically that we didn't know when this was written that would update it? And it was funny. Is books about death allowed to be funny? Because this one definitely was. If I haven't grossed you out enough, try to pick it up. This is a book. We also have it as an ebook and an e-audio in Libby and Overdrive. And let me know what you think. And if you've read any of her other books, leave us a message in the comments, and we'd love to hear what you thought of maybe a topic that isn't normally written about or discussed.
Is it scary?
I mean, I wasn't scared. It's not like murder. It's not true
Yeah.
crime. Like, would your cat really eat you? Like that kind of stuff.
That is scary, okay?
Oh, you think that's scary? Like, okay, so maybe Pat talked about it enough that like I knew what I was getting into, and so it wasn't scary to
Right.
me.
It's not like a thriller, but it might be a
No.
little spooky to read about. Some
Yeah,
of the
but it
things.
makes you think. Okay, well, do I want to pay for a casket in a crypt to be buried in the ground, or do I want to like go decompose out in the public next to a whole bunch of trees and let people discover me? And I don't know. It was interesting. I promise. Don't give me that look. It was interesting. You might like it.
All right. So getting away from the morbidness of death, Steve Martin. This is an autobiography.
Oh, so it's funny.
Not necessarily.
He's not a funny guy.
He is funny, but not in this book. He kind of goes through his life more, how he started, his problems with his dad that kind of propelled himself into his career, starting at Disney World, going to his television career, and then his movie, and then his stand-up comedy career. Such a great read. It's a quick read. He's such a great writer. He's such a talented man. This just solidified my love for Steve Martin in so many ways.
I feel like his repertoire is so much bigger than the few pages that are in this book.
Yeah, it is.
So you think it's leaving a lot of content for like a future book?
I don't think so. This is pretty old. I'm not sure when this came out, but I do wish, that's one thing about this book, I wish that it didn't end so early.
Well, I mean, people write biographies when they're 30, and you're like, dude, you got like 65 years to write about.
Exactly.
So
It's one you definitely wanted to keep reading.
very cool. I like it. This next one is currently checked out in our collection, but if you are interested in the Jet Age story of the women of Pan Am, Come Fly by Julia Cook, might be one that you should put on your radar, and we can put it on hold for you. This is the perfect mix between short stories and facts, news, politics, triumph, failure, and reflection of some of the stewardess and the evolution of the Pan Am Airlines. So it goes through like what it was like to apply for the job, to be in the job, to shuttle all kinds of people, all walks of life through the skies, and to do it with poise, and to watch your diet and all the restrictions that they had to deal with. It was a fascinating story, and it really was one that I enjoyed. So this is a book that we have. We have it as an ebook and an e-audiobook as well. Again, the physical copy is checked out, but if you're of interest in this one, we can put it on hold for you, as well as these other ones. I'm gonna do one more. This one here is Breathing Fire. This is the female inmate firefighters on the front lines of California wildfires by Jaymi Lowe. The title got me on this one. I literally picked this up because of the title. I didn't realize, and I don't know why, I typecast different jobs and occupations, and I don't fully grasp that you could be an inmate and not be in jail. And so that's what got me to pick this one up. So this is literally like people who they have to work. So instead of just going to a jail cell, they're firefighters. And this is like, it follows a whole bunch of different people that are all in one like firefighting unit out in California, and it talks about like some of them, what happened to put them in their situation, why they're in jail and serving time, or like the mental anguish of serving hard labor. And so, I don't know, it was very interesting. But again, the title is what drew me in on this one. This is currently on our staff picks display. So right inside the door when you visit us here at the Napanee Public Library, we have different titles. So somebody else really thought this one was good too. I think Maria is the staff, it's on the staff picks right now. Michaela, do you know?
I have no idea.
Okay, I think Maria read this one too. So it definitely grips you, but lots of short stories, and you'll learn something that maybe you didn't know about either. Okay, what you got?
All right, so next one I have is I'm So Effing Tired by Amy Shaw. If you've ever felt chronically tired and have gone to the doctor and have come back and not had any answers, they just chalk it up to, you're a busy mom, or you have a busy lifestyle, and you're sitting at home and you're like, no, there's definitely something going on. Amy does a very good job at reinventing the wheel a little bit. She is a nutritionist, and a PhD. So she has done her own studies in this field. She talks about our circadian rhythms, which is our internal clock that dates back thousands and thousands of years. And she talks about how external light when you wake up in the morning is super important, and how blackout curtains have really pushed us into sleep mode kind of permanently. How it's affected our hormones, to what we eat has affected our level of energy. But yeah, if you're interested in that.
Proven plan to beat burnout. Do you feel like you can beat the burnout? Boost your energy and reclaim your life. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Thank you. This one is A Secret History of Home Economics. I feel like I've had a lot of secret histories. I kind of did. Apparently that's like a going theme. This is How Trailblazing Women Harness the Power of Home and Change the Way We Live by Danielle Drielinger. This book, it follows not just facts, which would be family and consumer sciences from when it was established within a society, but then when it was added to schools and colleges, and then how it's also made that change through culture and actually been pulled out of schools. This is the fight for women to be the best people that they can be, and how it sometimes is up to a school or an educator to teach valuable day-to-day living techniques. So you don't go to school just to learn how to do math problems and just how to do language arts, but sometimes you need to go to school to learn how to sew a button on some clothes that aren't otherwise worn out. This one even goes into like the chemistry behind certain patents that women have used to like establish new cooking routines and habits. This one was really good. I enjoyed this one. So it's both a combination of history and feminism, and I wanted to read a little bit of the inside jacket on this one because I think it entails exactly what I'm trying to say. In the surprising, often fiercely feminist and always fascinating The Secret History of Home Economics, the author traces the field's history from Black colleagues to Eleanor Roosevelt to Okinawa, and from the Betty Crocker Brigade and the DIY techies. These women, who were almost all women, became chemists, marketeers. They studied nutrition, just like in this book here, and they created health and exercise, tested parachutes, created astronaut food, and took bold steps in childhood development and education. So it goes through, like I said, the whole cycle and the whole development of the program, and then how it was also pulled back through funding and different things, and it's the drive and the fight to get it returned to be something that is back part of our society, because after it was pulled, you really felt that. So if you also are somebody who would like to strive to see the world in a better place, this might be one that makes you angsty.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that one out. All right, so next one I have is Brains Explained. This is currently checked out. This talks about the evolution of mind and how it first started into what we are now. It talks about the unethical ways that we explored the mind for quite some time, and it also talks how we've definitely bettered our ways of
Cutting yourself open? Is
Oh
that
yeah,
okay?
yeah. Experimenting on children and being very.
There's your scary
not
book.
nice. Yeah.
Don't worry about already dead people.
But they, like your one that you stiff, it does give you humor to kind of cut through those really difficult topics. And it's not a hard read at all. You don't have to be a Harvard expert to understand the locations of the brain, where thought is processed. If you're interested in that kind of stuff.
Do we
Brains
have that? You said
Explained.
it's checked out. It's only a physical book?
Only
in our
physical
book?
book,
Okay.
currently, yes.
So normally you would find it on our shelves.
Yes.
This one here is a newer book to the Napanee Public Library collection. This is The Reckless Elimination of Hurry. I read this just a couple of weeks ago, right at the end of December. This book really set me up for goals for this year, for 2022. It all comes down to the last couple of chapters, and it'll walk you through all the things that are mentioned in more detail throughout the entire book. But I felt like this one is asking society to revert their ways. Obviously, we're all in an age of convenience, and how fast can we get something done? How efficient can we be? How can we multitask and all these things? This book by John Mark Comer, it's going to say taking a step back, slowing down, drive the speed limit. Like, what can happen if you actually just slow down and take a day to rejuvenate yourself? Not only what it can do for yourself in slowing down your mind and your body, to also what it can do to change. I totally just forgot where I was going with that. Like, to change the culture and like the financial institution of like buying things. If everybody took a day and they didn't spend any money, what that would look like to the infrastructure of our country. And so this one, like I said, it says drive the speed limit, get in the slow lane, come to a full stop at stop signs. Don't text and drive, show up early for an appointment, get in the longest line at the checkout. Doesn't this feel like all the things that we've kind of skipped doing? Turn your smartphone into a dumb phone. Taking a step back, literally get a flip phone or ditch the cell phone altogether. Make your phone go to sleep. Don't keep it next to your bedside table. Isn't that exactly what she's probably talking about in there?
Yes.
Like in this book, the author literally only checks his email once a week. Can you imagine?
No.
I think I probably check my email like once or twice an hour.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, I am in constant communication. I am available constantly. And this made me second guess what that can do to the rhythms of how you are productive.
That talks a lot about it.
Yeah,
Plays in.
they probably would work
Yeah.
really, really well together. So this one is blue. I can't remember what month that means we got it in. I think November. We keep our books on the new bookshelf for 4 months, so it's likely to be in that main hallway when you come in off the parking lot, at least for a little bit longer. So if you're looking for new titles in our collection, the colored dots are a good indicator of that. Want to do another one?
Okay, so this is my last and final book. This is called Kindness Now. And it does kind of play into the one that you just spoke with. It's about being more mindful in the way we do things and perceive things, and just treating everything with kindness and love, every person you come in contact with, and how to do that. And that can be a very, very hard thing and concept to do. It's very important to kind of tear down the barriers and be like, I am you, you are me, and take away how we are different and come back together of how we are very much similar and the same. And this book will kind of take you on a 28-day journey of meditation. If you're interested in meditation or you're fully immersed into meditation, any walk of meditation life, you can get into this. It's going to be completely fine. Easy to follow, easy to read. Kindness Now.
Like it. I like it. I have another book on history. This is the Barbazon. This is a book by Paulina Bren. It is another one that's located in New York City. The Barbazon is the first, it was like the first live-in hotel of sorts for women. And it was built in 1927, and only women were allowed to stay there. So back in the 20s, you were not allowed to live independently from men. And so if you were career driven at all and you wanted to go into the city, unless you had an escort to walk you up and down the city to go to the grocery store, things like that, you couldn't do those things by yourself as an independent woman. So the Barbazon was this hotel that was built. There was 700 little rooms, and you could basically think about it like a hotel, but you got to live there. And so you had community with all the other people on your floor, kind of like a dormitory, and it gave the power back to the women. So this is the story of not only the building itself and how it maintained its place in society for many, many generations, but it's also about the people who lived there. And Sylvia Plath is probably one of the most famous people who actually called their Barbazon home. If you're familiar with the Bell Jar at all, she takes that story that she wrote, and it is a fictionalized version of the Barbazon where she lived. So if you have read that book and you want to read this one, it would be a great companion novel. But there's also some darkness to this. I mean, there's people who have fought and fought and fought to have their independence only to gain it and then not know what to do with themselves. And so there's a lot of mental health crises in this book, but it was fantastic. It was one that really made me think through how grateful I am to live in a society today where I can go to the grocery store by myself or, walk down the street by myself and I don't have to have an escort with me. So this is a book that we have in multiple formats here at the Napanee Public Library. We have it as a physical book that's in my hand. We also have this one available as large print, which is going to be upstairs, and ebook and e-audiobook. There are pictures throughout that kind of show more in depth. Again, here's that Sylvia Plath chapter, and she's not just in one single chapter. She's referenced multiple times throughout this book. But it made me think. So I really like that one. Okay, this is the last one. Bad Blood was on my nonfiction to be read list for quite a while. Once it finally got to the top of my list, checked it out, was reading through it, and then all of a sudden, like the subject in this book, Elizabeth Holmes, I started hearing chatter about her, and I'm like, what in the world? So I did a quick Google search, and this book, it was written a couple of years ago, actually finally made it to the courts. So Bad Blood is the secrets, the lies in the Silicon Valley startup. And this book actually is a true crime novel of what Elizabeth Holmes did to the healthcare industry in trying to revolutionize blood testing. And she swindled a whole lot of people out of a whole lot of money. And just last week she went and she was charged with 4 counts.
Wow.
So she's going away for quite a while. So this was a book that I got to see and not even realizing when I picked it up that it was going to be a current events right away when I learned the backstory of it. And so I was emotionally invested in seeing her be prosecuted, which made me feel like angsty. Yeah. I was like, I cannot believe the narcissistic behaviors of the main character in this book. So it's part true crime, it's part current events. And, she wanted to be like Steve Jobs, and that's mentioned several times, that when she would pitch her idea to people that I can do this, and even if things were not possible with technology, she would make promises, and people didn't understand that she couldn't keep these promises, or they wanted to believe her. So if you have watched any portion of Elizabeth Holmes' trial, this is a book that I definitely think you should read. I hope that you have found some titles that have piqued your interest here in Book Bites today. When you join us next time, episode 2, we are going to be focusing on books that both Pat and I enjoyed for Expand Your Horizons, which is our reading challenge. It's going to be ending at the end of January, and then starting in February, we're going to kick off a whole new year, but we're going to delve into some of our favorite books from the 2021 Expand Your Horizons Challenge on episode 2. I hope you can join us back here for Book Bites. Our video is going to maintain on the social media channels today, and it'll be uploaded to YouTube pretty soon. And when that happens, by all means, you can still reach out to us and place items that have piqued your interest on hold, and we will be happy to get these into your hands. So until next time, thank you so much for joining us. Keep on reading.